Atlantic. Hurricane Florence, though, is the one we're going to be watching out for here across the Carolinas. It's a beautiful day in Wrightsville Beach. Look at all these big boats there at harbor right now along the intercoastal. It's a gorgeous day. Those thunderstorms have been flirting with the coast, but again, just your typical thunderstorms developing mainly in the afternoon. And as the sun goes down, hopefully everybody is really paying attention to what is going on way out in the Atlantic, because the Carolinas need to be.
You're welcome, sweetie.
That they're aware of it.
I'll put this web link on after the live feed.
Now, one just got upgraded to a hurricane that is in the Atlantic, but from Florence, and we have new information in on Florence. I'll get to that in a bit. The U.S. is likely to see the impacts from this hurricane.
Yeah, I'm not too happy, but I am prepared.
Friday, it is expected to move towards the west. And
Can you hear that okay, or should I turn it up?
It's already gotten stronger from this morning. The winds now are at 85 miles an hour. The pressure has dropped down to 974, and the westward movement is continuing, but it has picked up a little bit, up to around 7 miles an hour. So again, the winds have gotten stronger from Hurricane Florence, and the pressure has dropped. That shows us that it is starting to get a little bit stronger. Now, the projected path. The path really hasn't changed, but maybe the timing of it is different. As we look at these wind speeds amount, Tuesday 145, Wednesday 150 miles an hour. But pay attention, this has changed. By Thursday evening, it is going to be very close to the Carolinas. And then by Friday, it's still Friday night, 24 hours later, it's still in the Carolinas. So that may be an indication that it could slow down. It could just sit over the Carolinas, and obviously that does not sound like a good
I agree.
with,
oh no.
Rainfall, wind, increasing thunderstorm activity. So again, certainly something to be aware of.
Oh yeah, and we have seen that shift now a little bit with those stronger winds, so that's certainly a big concern. San Juan, Puerto Rico, we go to now, and what a beautiful day there.
I'll leave this on until it stops.
Certainly a hard-hit area when it comes to hurricanes, and we're looking at a very active tropics right now. In fact, 2 hurricanes now in the Atlantic. We have plenty, Jennifer, to talk about here. We have Hurricane Helene, which is still way out there near Africa, but Tropical Storm Isaac coming in, as well as an area to watch in the Caribbean. We've got Florence, and then in the East Pac, look at that, Olivia and Paul. Now, Olivia, a threat to Hawaii, could bring flooding rain there.
Oh, they named him.
It's just amazing. And September the 10th, which is tomorrow, is typical of the peak of hurricane season. So certainly this
morning,
amazing,
Paul was just a tropical depression.
To have this much activity. Now we're going to take you down to Galveston, Texas. We've had a lot of rain across portions of East Texas, and especially Southeast Texas throughout today. But we're also watching for a possible development in the Gulf of Mexico. Let me show you where the area of concern is right now. It's not so much in the Gulf, it's in the Western Caribbean. But this system has a chance to move into the Gulf at about a 20% chance that we could see this area. Again, it's in the Western Caribbean, but it could move into the Gulf, and it could have an impact along the coast of Texas as we go through the next few days. So again, we put it out here in the open waters of the Gulf with in the next several days. So this is another area that we're going to be watching. It's not a named storm or anything just yet, but it's certainly something we're keeping an eye on. This is a computer forecast model, and it indicates all that rain we saw today across Texas, but more rain from this coming from the Caribbean into the Gulf, and that would be towards the end of the week, towards Thursday and Friday. Now let's go out into the Atlantic and talk about our other named storms. This is the I storm, Tropical Storm Isaac. Winds are at 70 miles an hour, so it's a strong tropical storm. And this system is at 997 millibars. This one is going to perhaps have an impact if it holds together on the Caribbean, because you can see this westward movement takes it into the Lesser Antilles, maybe even into Puerto Rico, but into the Eastern Caribbean.
They don't need it either.
Friday. So again, the wind speeds from this, they do increase. They drop a little bit over the islands, but we expect this to become a hurricane, probably by maybe even tonight or tomorrow. We do have a new hurricane
about that one.
Hurricane Helene, with winds at 75 miles an hour. There's just so many moving parts, so much going on. Hurricane Helene is close to Africa, and this storm system has been a concern for the Cape Verde Islands, but as we go out in time, we expect this one to move away from those islands out into the Atlantic and into the open waters, and actually weaken, because this area is a little bit cooler, so we will see those waters have an impact on the strength of this hurricane. But right now, we'll have hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for Hurricane Helene.
We're going to go into another commercial.
We're tracking Florence. We'll continue.
Commercials last 5 minutes. You want me to stay on, or do you want to go ahead and leave? All right, I'll stay on for a little bit here. I do have food prepared. I did cook food, and so I don't have anything I need to cook for dinner for 2 to 3 days. I have talked to my neighbors. The last big hurricane we had here, they lost power for 1 day, because we're on the same line as the hospital and 2 fire departments, which is a good thing. But I have stocked up with 14 gallons of water. I have 4 to 5 gallons in the freezer. It's 4.5 gallons in the freezer. Box freezer, that is. Keeping my meat cold. I got 1 in the regular refrigerator freezer, so I can put it in the refrigerator when, if we lose power. It should keep the milk, eggs, and everything else cold. I went out and bought rice, noodles, canned meat. I cooked some rice. I'm going to put them in vacuum sealed bags and put them in the refrigerator, so I don't have to worry about cooking. If we have to, we can have cold meatloaf sandwiches, peanut butter sandwiches. We will be fine. I don't know. I didn't see that. I'm looking at the camera now. I'll have to watch the video when this is over. Trying to keep the camera on a steady line so you guys don't get a crooked picture. I need to get a hold of my friend Judy S. She lives here in Virginia Beach. Here we go.
We're getting ready and making sure that our coordination efforts are strong. We're setting our emergency operations center tomorrow morning. We'll have all of our key partners, including FEMA and our county officials and various state agencies that are going to be working together.
And you need to move that Hatteras sign over.
And see that people are preparing for the upcoming week in this hurricane. That's the message that you just heard from officials. They're sending out from South Carolina to the Mid-Atlantic that now is the time to get ready as Hurricane Florence is turning close to the East Coast. Hello and welcome to our special coverage of Tracking Florence. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Lopez.
And I'm meteorologist Julie Martin. You know, Florence is rapidly intensifying in the Atlantic, and cities along the coast are in the danger zone. Taking a look here at Florence, now a Category 1 storm, but gaining strength as we speak. In fact, Jennifer, there have been some big changes actually with this latest advisory.
Yeah, we just got some new information in, and the
Yes,
hurricane
you're right.
is a little bit stronger and has been intensifying in wind speed and in the pressure. So the numbers have been changing, and we want to give you the latest information and also show you the satellite picture from this hurricane. Again, right here is Bermuda. It's out in the middle of the Atlantic, Florence is, but the winds are at 85 miles an hour. That has gone up from 75 miles an hour that we had a little while ago. And the pressure has also changed. It's gotten stronger. It's dropped to 975 millibars. We do expect that west movement to continue, but we also anticipate it to become stronger. This is a look at the satellite picture, and it gets darker with the last frames because we're losing the daylight. But we are just really starting to see the thunderstorms developing right through the middle of the hurricane, right around the center. And also on the eastern and the southern side, you can see those thunderstorms, those billowing tops of those thunderstorms also showing up very well on the satellite picture. So again, no distinct eye right now, but it is getting stronger. And we expect the winds to go up. By tomorrow, they could be 120 miles an hour. And then as we go into the middle of this week, 150 miles an hour by Wednesday afternoon. Now, the projected path, the direction really hasn't changed much. But by the end of the week, I do want to point out a few things. Because Friday and Thursday, this Thursday afternoon, it was like back around here. Well, not even on shore, but you can see by Thursday night, it is extremely close to the coast of the Carolinas. And then by Friday night, it's still in the Carolinas. So that indicates that it perhaps could slow down as it makes its way inland and stay over the same location and cause all kinds of problems. But it is going to be a strong hurricane as we go into the middle of the week. Again, 150 mile an hour winds by Wednesday, and then even close to the landfall, 140 miles an hour wind speed. The reason why we expect this increase in the winds is because of several things, but one is the ocean temperature. We anticipate warmer temperatures closer towards the Carolinas as it moves away from the open water of the Atlantic that it is in right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 150 is a Category 5, yes? No?
You kind of see it on the tail end of this system. Well, the direction from that high is just going to take it continuing in that westward movement. So again, anywhere from the Carolinas, really the southeast coast to the mid-Atlantic, need to keep an eye on this storm system. Here is a look at all the computer models, all the spaghetti plots we call them, all now kind of showing some agreement that that west movement is going to continue.
All right, thank you.
Closer towards the coast. Want to point out over the next 2 days,
thank you so much.
It'll bring swells into Bermuda, but we think the bulk of the system will stay well south of that country. We do, again, by Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, expect those winds to really start to pick up to 145 miles an hour. Looking back, the past hurricanes, past storms, and again, that have come within 200 miles of Bermuda. But as we look at, again, one very powerful hurricane, Andrew, many years ago, was a little bit south of where Florence is right now. You can see it really took a different path than the others that were showing on that. Meanwhile, we do expect a lot of rain from this. Again, starting perhaps as early as maybe late Wednesday, but throughout the day on Thursday, we expect the rain and the thunderstorms. And then it'll continue through Thursday night. And again, we showed you that by Friday, it may be still in the Carolinas. Maybe not a strong hurricane, but perhaps winds up to 70 miles an hour, and we expect more rain to develop. So this could certainly be a very
dang it, an earthquake. I'll check it after this.
Because of the flooding. This area has had a lot of rain, especially through the mid-Atlantic, and they're going to be getting some more as we get into the end of the week and into the weekend. So that is what we're expecting, and the latest information on Hurricane Florence. All right, so now let's go back over to Julie. And Julie, you're going to be talking about the threats mainly right along the coast from it, right?
Yeah, and flooding is a big one. I mean, any way you look at this, it's not good news for the mid-Atlantic down into the Carolinas, perhaps even as far south as Georgia at this point. Live in Washington, D.C. right now, with the skies are there thick with clouds, and it's been raining there. In fact, a lot of rain coming into the mid-Atlantic today, prompting some flood concerns.
Guys,
it has
I'm
been
sorry.
an
I'm getting some
exceptionally
earthquakes.
wet year in these
I will
areas.
check it
Keep
live
in
after
mind,
this.
and this is bad news. To say the least. Now, what we're looking at is very heavy rain according to the Euro model, which is the worst case here, coming in to the Carolinas, well inland,
Thank you.
mind you. I mean, we're talking
You're
about
awesome.
Roanoke, Virginia here getting the bullseye, maybe some of that very extremely heavy rain. We're talking about maybe feet
Or
of
the
rain
other
coming
two.
into these areas and really working up into the Washington, D.C. area as well. Raleigh, another city, we're very concerned about flooding here for you, as well as, of course, Wilmington as we get a little bit closer to the coast. So very heavy rain with the Euro. Now the GFS, or the American model, is a little bit of a different
They've already
solution for
told the
this.
Navy ships
It
at
actually keeps
Norfolk
the heaviest rain out
to
at
get
sea,
out to sea.
and we're talking about maybe places like the Outer Banks and maybe Norfolk getting hit with some of the heavier rain, but nothing like what the Euro does. So this is something we'll be watching and fine-tuning, of course. But the year-to-date rainfall in all of these areas, I mean, you've just been soaked all year long here. Over 62 inches here in Wilmington, 58 in Hatteras, 45 in Richmond, Asheville over 50 inches for the year. So not good news. Very saturated grounds, and it's not going to take a whole lot here for these creeks and rivers to come out of their banks as well. So it's not just a flash flooding event we're concerned about, but the river flooding as well. Very much above average in green here all across these parts. So once again, you get the saturated ground,
Thanks,
and then you've got this kind of system perhaps stalling
Lynn.
out as it does make landfall. That's one scenario that this thing could stall right along maybe the Virginia and North Carolina border and just produce tremendous rainfall here. And we are certainly
Then you're going to
it's
get
not
some
the
rain
solution
too,
or the
sweetie.
case here. But this is what it's going to take to flood these areas. Not a whole lot, right? We're talking about, in general, maybe a couple of inches of rain. We do believe we're going to get way more than that coming out of Florence, coming into this area. So again, going to be a very tough go of it there in these parts. And we're talking about trees falling as well.
Yeah, I've got a 125-year-old tree across the street.
Yeah, it certainly could. So that is something we're going to keep an eye on. But even well away from where this system makes landfall, it could have an impact all through the East Coast. Here we are along the Savannah, along the Riverwalk. It's been a beautiful day with those blue skies. Oh, it's been hot and humid, that's for sure. But Savannah, we're certainly you, as well as throughout the Savannah River, the border of Florida, or not Florida, but South Carolina and Georgia. And again, you're very close to the Carolinas.
At 12
so
watching, if you guys like what you're seeing, please thumbs up so I can continue the live feeds.
But we want you to be aware of rip currents. Well away from where this system makes landfall, you can see there's going to be a high threat of rip currents throughout the east coast of Florida, all the way down to the Keys. And then as we go farther to the north, even up into Long Island and across the Jersey Shore, we're expecting rip currents to be on the increase as we head into this weekend. So if you're thinking, oh, that hurricane's not going to have an impact, I'm still going to go to the beach this weekend, well, please make sure that you are watching out for any signs like red flags or anything like that that indicate that the surf is not safe to go out in.
They've already got red flags up here in Virginia.
Now, well, not too strong, not too high, but we're expecting that to change. And as we go out in time, those waves are really expected to pick up here. And as we put this into motion for you, we can see some of those waves coming close to Bermuda, starting tomorrow throughout Tuesday and Wednesday. You can see it as it, again, passes to the south of Bermuda. However, the island is still expected to see an increase in swells, an increase in surf from this storm. And then as it comes closer to the Carolinas, to the mid-Atlantic, by the end of this week, we're expecting the waves to be increasing up to 20 to maybe 30 feet. Wind speeds will also be high. Tropical storm force winds are anticipated. And again, those tropical storm force winds really targeting into the Carolinas.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, storm surge, another issue that we're going to be tracking for you. It's one of the most dangerous components of any landfalling hurricane. Storm specialist Dr. Greg Postel breaks down the effects.
The biggest threat to life and property with a landfalling hurricane is the flooding that comes with storm surge. A great way to demonstrate the impact of storm surge is through our augmented reality product exclusively here at the Weather Channel. All right, guys, let's bring up the scale. Check this out. All the way from 1 to about 9 feet and beyond. We're going to start here with a 3-foot storm surge. This is very significant because keep in mind, it only takes a couple of inches of water to knock you off your feet. and about 1 or 2 feet of water to get a car to float. This is moving water. This is not
Wow.
like water at your pool. This can do some significant damage. Let's go beyond that. Let's check out 6 feet, all right? We're up to 6 feet. That's taller than a lot of people, and it can carry your car away, float it away. And also, don't forget, this is nasty water. There could be all kinds of debris inside of there, all kinds of sharp objects, maybe even toxic chemicals. Let's go beyond that. Here we go, up to 9 feet. Gosh, if you were on your first floor trying to escape this, you are in real trouble. You've got to go up to the second floor. And then beyond that, guys, imagine that. 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 foot of storm surge. You know what that can do? That can carry your house away entirely. So remember, absolutely, the biggest threat to life and property with a landfalling hurricane is storm surge.
You're right,
so you
it
need
is.
to listen to your local officials and act as you are ordered to do so.
Great advice there from Dr. Greg Postel. And taking a live look now at Houston, where it's been raining today, and we're expecting what could be a significant flood event here in Houston before
You're so right,
tropical
Glenn.
moisture may even reach you. We're talking about what's happening today and tomorrow, perhaps through Tuesday. Very concerned here about Houston and when it comes to flooding, and their forecast office is as well. And what's bad news on top of that is
Look
we
at
have
that
this. We have
circulate
a
here.
disturbance here in the Caribbean right now that's got about a 20% chance of development. Now, the expectation is that this will eventually enter the Gulf of Mexico and could bring more flooding rain to places like Houston, maybe to the Louisiana coast as well. It's not named yet, but it's something the National Hurricane Center is now
Not
keeping an
good.
eye on. And our possible development area here, well, doesn't look so good here for Houston. So this is just
Lady
something
Jane,
that kind of
hi.
gives you a heads up right now. It's going to be a rough couple of days for you in Houston, though, with some rainfall rates that are going to be probably very high for you. And as we all know, Houston prone to flooding, so not great news. Right now, looks like the bulk of the rain has pushed out of Houston proper, moving over into Louisiana, but we are expecting it to pick up once again before this tropical, whatever this ends up being, even reaches you by late week. So the ground's already going to be super saturated before this tropical moisture even arrives, if it does so. Right now, the water temperatures are certainly conducive to development. They're very warm, so the warm water adding to the equation here. Not really any cool pockets still to see, and no big time departures here in the Gulf of Mexico right now. So as we take a look here at the Euro, certainly taking this maybe a named storm, maybe not. Either way, a lot of rain certainly into Texas, Jen, by the end of the week.
And you know what? That is not the only thing we're watching. It is so busy out in the Atlantic. Two
Crazy.
other systems to talk about. And as we look at the big picture, it shows several other systems that we're keeping an eye on, and one that could have an impact here in Puerto Rico. Right now, it's just a gorgeous day along the beach with those beautiful blue skies above and the water. Not even making big waves just yet, but that is expected to change because there are tropical storms out there, another hurricane we're keeping an eye on. We look out here into the Atlantic again. Here is Florence, but we have two other systems, Tropical Storm Isaac and Helene, to talk about. The first one we're going to look at is Tropical Storm Isaac. It is a strong category or strong tropical storm with winds at 70 miles an hour, but it could become a hurricane very shortly. And this is expected to have an impact in the islands, the Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles, as we go towards the end of the week. We've timed it out for you. It's expected to get those winds up to 100 miles an hour. And then by Wednesday or Thursday morning coming into the islands there, and then you can see Puerto Rico Thursday night into Friday as a tropical storm at least, again bringing some rain and maybe some wind and waves. Now we're going to go farther to the east in the Atlantic and look at Helene. This has just been upgraded to a hurricane, so we have two hurricanes in the Atlantic, Florence and Helene. Helene is very close to Africa, and it's also very close to these islands. And today they have tropical storm warnings as well as hurricane watches posted for part of those islands. But this is expected to move away from the islands, and then it's going to move out into the big open waters of the Atlantic. And you notice the wind speeds kind of go down down to about 65
Yeah, well, at
miles
least
an
this
hour
one's
by
going to go
Friday.
straight
That
up.
indicates that the water is actually below average here, and that is going to help to weaken the hurricane. But again, the wave heights from that will be having an impact on those islands. And September the 10th is when we have the peak of the hurricane
tomorrow.
season, and that is tomorrow. So again, starting to get very busy.
All right, guys. That's going to be it for right now. We've been on for 24 minutes, 25. God bless. I'll do it again around 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the thumbs up. Be safe out there. You're welcome, guys.